What is going down, sourdough squad? It is Friday, and you know what that means? That means we are only one weekend away with 49ers football back in action. Week 1 will start next week against the Bears, but that means we have some work in order. We are going to talk about award predictions for the San Francisco 49ers right now. You already know the vibes. Drop an SDS in the chat if you're vibing with your boy. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. What is going down? All the homies, good to see ya. We got to do some award predictions. We are going to get into, so I did these last year as well, right after training camp. I got a little cute with them. This time, we're going to try to be on point. We're going to come back to them, and we're going to see how accurate they really are. But let's get this thing started, shall we? So this is how it's going to work. We're going to go through each one. I'm going to ask you who you guys think should be the player for X award. For example, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, et cetera, et cetera. You drop it in the chat who you think it's going to be, and then I will drop who I think it's going to be. But you already know the vibes. Smash that like button. Get this thing going. Get all the other sourdough squads in here so we can get this thing popping. But let's get it started. Actually, I don't think there's a whole lot of news. No news dropped today. So I think we could get right into it. Let me just double check. I don't think there was really any news that went down today that is noteworthy or worthy of reporting. We did have Deebo Samuel ask the hard hitting questions via his Instagram, whether it should be the F7 or the Speed Flex. Do you see Deebo Samuel making a switch with that helmet? I don't know. I love the F7. I really do. But you got Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk wears the F7. It's the helmet on the left. Deebo is wearing the Speed Flex on the right. I kind of like Deebo in the Speed Flex. I don't know. I can't really see him in the F7. He did show. He posted on his story a while back of him wearing what looked to be Brandon Ayuk's F7. It looked okay, but it feels like the F7 suits Ayuk, and it feels like the Speed Flex fits Deebo. Right? What a world we live in. I don't think there's really anything to really talk about that's super worthy of our time. But except we're talking helmets. We're talking football gear because we're football nerds around here. Before we get into the awards, I don't know. I like the Speed Flex. I think the F7s are nice. Definitely nice. It just feels like Deebo's a Speed Flex guy. So we'll see. We'll see what he ultimately does. We'll talk about who should be captain this year as well. But let's get into some of the early predictions that we have in here. All right. So let's start off with the most underrated player of the year for the San Francisco 49ers. Who do you think that player is going to be? Who's going to be that guy that, again, just doesn't get the hype like the Deebo Samuels, the Brandon Ayuks, the Trey Lances, but will ultimately have a huge impact on the year? Who do you think will be the most underrated player for the San Francisco 49ers this year? Drop it in the chat. I want to see what you guys have to say. First one off the bat, Peyton, drop an E-Man. We got Lamian dropping Aziz Al-Shair. Corey's dropping Juice. Ooh, Juice is so underrated that I literally like time and time again, I just forget to mention him when like building out raw. Like I just Juice is the best fullback in the league, and it can't be discussed enough. But I literally forget about him. So Juice is a great option for sure. Boomerat says Aziz or Kinlaw. Jesus says E-Man. Definitely Aziz from Lamian Dillard. And Cash the Gauze God says JJ or Mason. So this is who I got. The most underrated player this year for the San Francisco 49ers for me, the SF Niners, is going to be Emmanuel Mosley. I really do think E-Man does not get enough hype. He does not get enough praise. I think in over 700 snaps last season, he didn't give up a touchdown. Emmanuel Mosley, I think, is only going to improve this year. I think with bringing Mooney into the mix, again, E-Man talked about this. He talked about how I want to call him Charvarius, but Mooney Ward is such a solid press man corner that he's able to pick some things up and learn from him. I really do think E-Man is really going to round out his game this year. He's not going to be someone that's going to get a lot of hype, but I think Emmanuel Mosley will be the most underrated player of the year. Lake City Fresh says, I'm going Brunny. We're going to need him to play big. From the looks of things. It's going to be really interesting to see how Brunskill fits into this mix with the offensive line up front. So we'll see ultimately what goes down. But I got E-Man as the most underrated player for the San Francisco 49ers. Let's go to Coach of the Year. And this can be anyone on the coaching staff. The 49ers have a legitimate coaching staff. They brought in a bunch of new pieces onto the offensive side. Of course, you've got Kyle Shanahan. But who do you guys think is going to be the coach of the year for the San Francisco 49ers? Drop it into the chat. Let's see what you guys think. Is it going to be Kyle Shanahan taking the cake? Is it going to be guys like Chris Kosarek? Who do you think will be the coach of the year? Right off the bat, we got Peyton dropping D'Amico. Greasy. Ooh, Greasy going to change the culture of that quarterback room? Maybe. We got Miko. And hey, get shocker. We got more Miko. So I have, shockingly enough, D'Amico Ryans will absolutely be the coach of the year. Again, Kyle Shanahan, the mastermind of the offense. I think the offense is going to take a little bit of kind of finessing and massaging and getting into the right place. Again, you got an entirely new interior offensive line. You don't know what the status of your right tackle is. You got a new quarterback. You got the old quarterback, but based on kind of like what we saw last year, it does feel like the San Francisco 49ers offense is going to take some time to really gel. I am not anticipating that the 49ers offense comes out this year and just dominates from day one. If they do, fantastic. But I'm expecting it's going to be a slow ramp up. I'm expecting it's going to look a little clunky. It's going to look a little sputtery here or there. Maybe they go 3 and out. We're going to get a bunch of 3. It's going to be interesting. We'll get some big plays. We'll get some flash plays. But it does kind of feel like it will take some time to gel. In the meantime, it feels like D'Amico Ryans is going to be ready to go. He has a phenomenal defense at his disposal. He has legitimate players at every level, and it really just feels like D'Amico, opposed to last year, where it felt like he was reacting to the players that were available, it was because you had Josh Norman, you had Dre Kirkpatrick. He was trying to scheme around the deficiencies at the cornerback position. But you plug in Mooney Ward, you plug in Emmanuel Mosley, Samuel Womack in the slot. It feels like D'Amico is going to be able to really unleash the play calling ability and the way he schemes it up. So I think D'Amico Ryans is going to have a phenomenal year leading that defense, which is ultimately going to lead to D'Amico Ryans actually getting a head coaching job next year. This is going to be D'Amico Ryans' last time that we see him with the 49ers. Sadly enough, he will not last too long with the 49ers because he will have that good of a year that it will ultimately lead to him getting a head coaching job. So I have D'Amico Ryans as this year's coach of the year. That's how I see it playing out. Vic Fangio out there waiting in the wings. I think the 49ers know the writing's on the wall. So D'Amico's going to get that job. And it's going to be sad day when he does, but that's just how well he is going to command that defense. I think this next award could be another landslide. So it looked like Coach of the Year was a pretty much a landslide with D'Amico Ryans. I think this next player could be a landslide as well. I want to see what you guys think. Who will be the San Francisco 49ers comeback player of the year? Who do you think that guy? There's a couple candidates out there. But who's going to be that guy that really rises to the occasion after being hurt last year, not getting a whole lot of reps or opportunities, but solidifies themselves on this team and becomes an impact player in 2022? Who do you think that's going to be so far right off the bat? We got Javon Kinlaw from Boomer Rat. Justin's saying Kinlaw. Cash the God saying Kinlaw. I like this one, though. Sleeper pick, Jason Verrett. Jason Verrett's going to be eligible return from PUP. So he could be a guy that could absolutely flash and be a huge part of the defense. Lake City Fresh is dropping Kinlaw. Ooh, we got a Mike McGlinchey vote. Hey, man, if Mike McGlinchey, after snapping his quad tendon, can come back and be an integral part on that offensive line, because we already know that offensive line is kind of struggling a little bit right now. So if he can come back and play a majority of the season, that's going to be absolutely huge. And he will, if that's the case, he will definitely be in consideration for comeback player of the year. Angelic Ambition says Jason Verrett. Big Papa says Kinlaw. Charlene says Jason Verrett. Robert Davis says Kinlaw. Boomerat says only 13 likes. Come on, SDS. Bosa, that thumbs up. It's a slow day today. It's a slow day in the office today, apparently. We're chill. It's a very intimate group today. We got like under 60 people. It's a very intimate group today, but hey, sucks for the other people who are missing out, because we're talking award show. Smash that like button. So comeback player of the year for me, I believe, is going to be Javon Kinlaw. I really do think Javon Kinlaw is going to be a disruptive force this season. Again, a lot of focus is going to be faced and focused on Nick Bosa. These offensive lines are going to be sliding protection to Nick Bosa. They're going to be bringing running backs. They're going to be using tight ends and wide receivers to chip Bosa. They are going to try to stop Mr. 20 piece all year long. What is that going to translate to? It is going to translate to Javon Kinlaw getting one-on-one matchups on the interior. We saw against Minnesota. We've seen it in training camp. Javon Kinlaw has added some pass rushing moves. That was one of the biggest knocks on Javon Kinlaw coming out of South Carolina was he was just raw. Like he was a specimen, but he was raw in regards to polish, technical acumen, those types of things. We're starting to see it. We're starting to see club swipes, and he's so strong that when he clubs, the hands go down, then he knocks you to the side and runs right by you. So the fact that Javon Kinlaw's added pass rushing moves, he had this one particular rep against the Vikings where he gets into his run fit, gets his eyes in the backfield, running back goes opposite direction. He spins out of the block and gets the tackle. So I really am looking forward to Javon Kinlaw. I think Javon Kinlaw will be the San Francisco 49ers comeback player of the year. I think he will be healthy. I think he'll be healthy all year. Again, they went in, they fixed the problem. He's feeling good. He's feeling great. He's feeling better than he ever has. The energy's up. I really think Javon Kinlaw, it's a perfect storm. Javon Kinlaw is going to have a really strong year for the San Francisco 49ers. So I got Javon Kinlaw as the comeback player of the year. The comeback kid, Javon Kinlaw, come on down. Now, this one could go a bunch of different directions. Who is going to be the rookie of the year for the 49ers? We've talked about this rookie class at length multiple times. We've talked about this rookie class at length multiple times, whether it's Drake Jackson, whether it's TDP, whether it's Danny Gray, whether it's Samuel Womack, whether it's Spencer Burford. Hell, Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, made the roster. So there's a lot of options to pick from because I think when we look and we listen to that list of players, all of them are going to see the field this year. You got a couple starters in there as well. We're going both offense and defense. We're going both. So just the best rookie. We're the cream of the crop. Spencer Burford looks like he's slotted to be the starter at right guard. It looks like you have Samuel Womack, who will be the starting nickel. Looks like Danny Gray has an opportunity to see a whole lot of snaps. A whole lot. Clearly is building a rapport with Trey Lance. Again, he's got real speed and real ability to play wide receiver. So who's it going to be? Drake Jackson? Drake Jackson has clearly shown that he has the raw ability to absolutely wreak havoc off the edge, and he will continue to develop and get better. So let's go through the list. Peyton's saying, give me Womack. Jesse's saying Womack. Charlene saying Womack. Boomerat saying Womack or Jackson. Darian is saying Samuel Womack. Danny Gray. We got our first Danny Gray appearance. Samuel Womack. Jesus wants Danny, my son. So he's going for Danny Phantom. GAA says, man, that's a hard question. That's what I'm saying, man. There's a lot of good rookies in this class that are going to contribute this year. So typically it's actually historically a pretty easy question because it's normally the guys that are drafted early, but they have no first round draft pick and they've hit on a lot of these guys, it appears, to be successful. Jesse says Womack. Big Papa says Womack. Boomerat says, I'm going to say Gray and Drake Jackson only because Womack is a rookie and it's tough being a rookie cornerback. It's a good point. Good point. Darian says Samuel Womack. Ooh, we got our first Jordan Mason appearance. Hector says, got my money on Mason all day. Mason stonks through the roof. Love to see it. Jordan Mason. Justin says, Mason's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Just wait. Oh, we got another one. Robert Davis says, Mason's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Mason, Drake the Freak, Jordan Mason. Listen, I'm not going to lie. When I was making this list, it just was so intriguing to put Jordan Mason. I really wanted to. But when I have to look at the running back, he's also competing with fellow rookie Ty Davis Price. And we do anticipate Elijah Mitchell will get a lot of snaps. We also anticipate Jeff Wilson's going to get a lot of snaps. So ultimately, it's hard to put Jordan Mason, even though he's going to be a fun player to watch for the San Francisco 49ers. I don't think we got any Burfords. There's a Burford. We haven't got really any Burfords. Burford had a lot of hype early, but there's a Spencer and a Womack. Big Papa says, love Mason, but it's a crowded room. Mason, the mini Marshawn. So this is who I got for the 49ers Rookie of the Year, both offense and defense. I have 5th round cornerback out of Toledo, Samuel Womack. I think Samuel Womack is going to be relied on heavily. That's going into part of this discussion. I really do think that Samuel Womack is going to see a lot of snaps this year, especially with the way that the NFL continues to continually move towards 3 wide receiver sets. I really do think Samuel Womack is going to be a guy who's going to be on the field a whole lot. Not only do I think he's going to be on the field a whole lot, I think it's going to translate into him getting targeted a lot as well. But when he does get targets, I think he's going to be able to make plays. So I think Samuel Womack is going to be this year's Rookie of the Year. He's already just climbed up the depth chart and is clearly held in high regard inside that building. So I think Samuel Womack is going to be the Rookie of the Year for the San Francisco 49ers. Now, this one is going to be interesting. I'm going to see if you guys like where I landed here, but I'm going to give you an opportunity first to tell me who you think. I wonder if that had no notice. You guys didn't get notified. Unbelievable. All good. Glad you're here now, J-Tan. Defensive Player of the Year. Who is that going to be? This one's a fun one because I think there's a ton of options. You could go a lot of different ways with this, but I do want to see who you guys think the Defensive Player of the Year is. So drop it in the chat. We already got Jesus dropping the Bear, Nick Bosa, bro. Bosa gonna win league-wide Defensive Player of the Year. You guys might be a little shocked by who I pick. Boss Bosa is my dad, says Boomer Rat. Bosa or Jackson. Ooh, Jackson gonna have that kind of year. That would be big if Drake Jackson put up that quality of a season that we're considering the rookie as the defensive player of the year. Darian saying the big bear. We got looks like Bosa. Ooh, we got a Kinlaw. We got a Kinlaw defensive player of the year, contract year for Nick Bosa. We got a Charmander Ward, aka Charmander West. Little Bear Bosa. Fred Mooney Bosa. I don't know. El Oso. E-Man. Oh, Charmander West. There we go. C Ward. We got Bosa because he's mad about last year. No vote for comeback player of the year. Yeah, he got snubbed big time. Mark says, I'm going to pick Dre Greenlaw. Nope, I'm not. Spoiler alert. I'm not picking Dre Greenlaw. If you pick Fred Warner, it will be because of Kinlaw's double teams. That would be a great reason for sure. Kyle said he used the force during running back in week 2 last year. Bosa with the 20-piece chicken nugget. Nick Bosa if everyone else shows up. Darian says, I think Brad likes Fred this year. I really do like Fred this year, but that's not who I picked. So this is who I picked for defensive player of the year. And you're going to see the logic in a second. You're going to have to wait till the end to see the full logic. You're going to have to wait till the end to see the full logic to understand this one as well. But I have Charvarius, A.K. Money Mooney Ward, winning Defensive Player of the Year. I think we are going to see Big Mooney absolutely clamp these number one wide receivers. Again, you look in the division, you got guys like Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf. You have DeAndre Hopkins will be back. And then all the other wide receivers that they're going to face: Darnell Mooney, Cortland Sutton, DJ Moore. Does Mike Thomas come back, the slant god? Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill. He's going to have to face, even Devontae Adams. This year. So Ward is going to be facing a lot of top talent at wide receiver. So as a result, I think we are going to see Ward in a lot of press man situations and man-on-man situations, which could mean that these, if they are in man, you know what that means. Quarterbacks, they see man coverage and they're like, oh, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to attack man coverage. And they're going to try to attack Ward, and Ward is going to come away with interceptions, pass deflections, and just clamp. And I think he's going to have an opportunity to be a huge reason why the entire defense as a whole is able to convert towards these press man concepts and bringing more pressure up front. So I think my defensive player of the year is going to be Charvarius, aka Money Mooney Ward. But again, I said stick around because it's going to make a lot more sense here in a little bit. But before we can do that and make it make sense, let's get into the offensive player of the year. Who is that going to be? I want to know from you guys. Drop it in the chat. Who is going to be the offensive? Again, another opportunity for a ton of options of who that could be. Who's it going to be? Who will be the San Francisco 49ers most impactful? Just because, there are guys that are the best doesn't mean they're the most impactful. This Offensive Player of the Year award to me represents who will have the greatest impact. to the offense, who will make their mark. Again, I think, you guys know me, I'm big bias to the offensive line. So last year, I was like, oh, Trent Williams, Offensive Player of the Year, because he was the best offensive lineman in football that we had ever seen. But you can also 100% have given that to Debo Samuel for the impact that Debo had. Debo last year took the entire offense and put it on his back, whether it was in the receiving game, whether it was as a rusher. When the 49ers had no offense, Debo Samuel absolutely carried that offense. So again, I'm biased, so of course I'm going to give it to Trent Williams, but you could absolutely give it to Debo Samuel as well last year. So who's going to be the offensive player this year though? And I'm talking impact. I'm saying who is going to be the guy out there creating the most impact for the 49ers offense. And I think this one's going to get a lot of different types of votes because there's a lot of guys that could be that guy. Jesse says BA. Jesus says BA. Debo. Oh, it is a hard one. Oh, Kyle Shanahan, offensive play caller of the year. Trent or BA. The return of George Kittle to prominence as being known as the number one tight end in the NFL, as he should already. Trey Lance, who right after that, Jimmy G. Trent Williams, Debo, but Ayuk closes the gap between the two. Trey or BA. Trent Williams, Ayuk, Trey, and BA. Greg, of course. I think Greg's going to have a phenomenal year. Great year for Greg. Oh, TDP coming in hot. The Joker, George Kittle, reemerges. We got Trent. We got Debo. They all contribute so much in their own way. 100%. BA, Kyle Shanahan, Offensive Player of the Year. Jimmy G, Big Trent, not even close. Elijah Mitchell, ooh, spicy. Kittle, Debo, nice. It's a run first team, y'all. It's either TDP or Juice in the run game. Oh, we got multiple votes for Juice. Fullbacks matter, ladies and gentlemen. Fullbacks matter. Offensive Player of the Year, Trey Lance. Ayuk. Let's see. Oh, no. No. Trent. Not Trent. George, a.k.a. Greg, is the best tight end in the NFL. If you're looking at the position as a whole and you're not looking at the position through the lens of fantasy football, George Kittle is unquestionably the best tight end in the NFL. But we understand what kind of era we live in. We live in the era of stat watching. So if you got a good stat line, they're going to consider you the best. But being the best tight end it's a dual position. You block and you catch. So he's elite at both. So therefore, if so facto, Greg Kittle, best tight end in the NFL. Can't convince me otherwise. Debo. So this one for me, it was a hard one. It was a hard one. Spoiler alert, I'm not going offensive line. I love Trent. I still think Trent is the best arguably player in the NFL. So nothing new there. But I can't go offensive line right now. I got to go somewhere else. And again, there's so many guys that are worthy of this pick. There are so many guys that could get it, but this is how I see it. This year, the quarterback is going to be heavily relied on. And by all accounts, that quarterback is going to be Trey Lance. And if you look at the connection that Trey Lance and Brandon Ayuk have, and you look at the success that Ayuk could have, that hinges on Trey Lance. But you have to imagine you're also going to have to get Debo involved, Kittle involved, and then on top of that, you also have the ability for Trey Lance's legs to be able to rush. So if Trey Lance is coming away with like 600 rushing yards and we're talking about maybe 5 to 6 rushing touchdowns, I feel like that is a big time difference maker. Based on, I think, what we're going to see, we're going to see a lot of zone read and we're going to see more design quarterback runs. So this was really hard. It was between Brandon Ayuk or Trey Lance for Offensive Player of the Year for me. But I think I got to go with Trey Lance right now. Again, this is a hard decision because I think it could go in multiple different directions. But the thing that is pushing me towards Trey Lance is going to be the rushing floor that he provides. I really think that we haven't gotten to see a whole lot of it this preseason. I think we're going to see Trey Lance kind of unleashed as a runner in a sense of seeing much more zone read. And that could translate into, like I said, a rushing floor of 5 to 6 touchdowns, potentially 500, 600 rushing yards over a 17 game season. So you have the combination of his connection with Brandon Ayuk, getting the ball to Brandon Ayuk, getting the ball to Debo Samuel, getting the ball to George Kittle, Jawan Jennings, and Danny Gray. And then we're also going to see, I think, a lot more short passes out of the backfield to running backs. So I feel like once the season progresses and they start to get into a rhythm between zone read, play action, and all these different things, and then you get Trey to settle in a little bit more and get comfortable, that is when you look at Kyle Shanahan and the combination of Trey Lance and that ceiling that is capable. And we're optimistic here. So if we think the season is going to go how we think it's going to go, then and you see the progression early and the buildup, I think Trey Lance could be the offensive player of the year for the 49ers because again, there's so many different variables that come along with I think how they're going to use him, but it could be a lot of people. It could be Debo again. It could be Debo. It could just be Brandon Ayuk because maybe Trey struggles a little bit, but Brandon Ayuk takes a huge step forward. Could be George Kittle just going absolutely crazy as a blocker over the middle, making catches. Could be Elijah Mitchell. Maybe we see a breakout year from Elijah Mitchell in year 2. So there's a lot of people it could be. There's a lot of people it could be, but I think with the guy who's going to have the ball in his hands every play, who is capable of running it or throwing it, it just feels like it has to be Trey at this point. So we'll see if that is ultimately where it lands, but that's how I got it. We have one more award left to predict, and that is going to be the most valuable player. Now, the 49ers, we already know this. We've talked about it a ton already. They're absolutely stacked. Probably, arguably, the best roster in the NFL, top to bottom. So there's a lot of players that are going to have a big impact this year. Who will be the guy that has the biggest impact across the team? It could be defense, it could be offense, it could be Debo, it could be Kittle, it could be Warner. Maybe, you're going to get Jimmy Ward is going to miss those 4 games, but maybe once he returns, It's going to be phenomenal. But who's going to be the MVP? It's going to be Kittle. Oh, starting to see the Bosa's. Starting to see the Bosa's pick up. Debo puts the team on his back. Nick the King Bosa, Big Boss. I truly believe that the most we got Trey Lance. Let's go. I truly believe the most valuable player on the San Francisco 49ers this year is going to be Nick Bosa. I think Nick Bosa has the potential to not even just win defensive player of the year. Like I think we could. Like I'm talking unprecedented. Like they're going to be forced to talk about a defensive player as a potential MVP. I think that's the kind of year that I think Nick Bosa is going to have. I think not only is Nick Bosa going to be hands down the most valuable player for the San Francisco 49ers, he could prove to be one of the most valuable players in the entire NFL. So I really do think, based on what I saw from this guy all offseason, he is going to be insane. And so part of this, Nick Bosa didn't get any hype last year. Remember, Nick Bosa didn't start turning the national media didn't start to talk about Nick Bosa until week 14, until that Bengals game. They really didn't start to even mention him until they're like, hold on a second. Does this guy have 12 or 13 sacks and it's week 14? They didn't mention him. They didn't talk about him. They didn't do any of that. If Nick Bosa comes out against the Bears and gets 3 sacks week 1, that's how you build the momentum. That's how you build the momentum. He has to come out, have a phenomenal game against the Bears, 3-4 sacks against the Bears. Everyone's talking about him from week 1. If week 1 Nick Bosa comes out and leads the NFL in sacks, he would be forced to be put on everyone's radar. Then the quest for the 20 piece begins. And if he hits 20, 21, 22 sacks, hell, if he breaks the record, which he has the potential to this year. Again, we talk about Kinlaw, we talk about Givens, we talk about Ebelcom and everyone on the other, who else is on that defensive line. And of course, the linebackers and the coverage that he has on the back end. If that coverage on the back end forces quarterbacks to hold the ball for just a half second longer, that is going to be the half second that Bosa needs to just get home and get sacks. And if he can come out week 1 and put the NFL on notice and say, I just sacked the guy that the NFL network is already comparing to Patrick Mahomes based on preseason snaps. You get Bosa tracking down Justin Fields and the Bears, and you get him with 3 to 4 sacks against the Bears. He comes back against 2 rookies in Seattle, week 3. Another multi-sack game against Seattle, first home game of the year. Then you go into week 3 and you have a Sunday night football game against Mr. Unlimited and the Denver Broncos for the whole world to see. Nick Bosa, if Nick Bosa is walking into Sunday night football with 6 sacks under his belt already, guess who they're going to be talking about? Guess who's going to be hyped up leading into that game? And then if Nick Bosa comes away with another multi-sack game against the Broncos, the improved Broncos, 20-piece. The 20-piece is coming. I'm telling you. The 20-piece is coming, and it's set up to go from Sunday night straight to Monday night, week 4. That's how you build the campaign. We understand it's about hype. Cash talked about it earlier. He had no hype. When the 49ers went to that 4-game losing streak, everyone wrote off the 49ers. Everyone wrote off the 49ers. But Nick Bosa was quietly getting a sack almost every game, getting a sack, getting a sack, getting a sack. So that's what I think could happen. And it's not a jinx, my guy, because we're hypothesizing. We're thinking out loud. We don't speak in absolutes because nothing in football is absolute. That's why football is such a phenomenal game. That's why you play to win the game, because nothing is defined. Nothing is absolute. You could say whatever you want. You got to play the game. So I don't think we're jinxing anything, but I really do believe that Nick Bosa could absolutely come out and dominate this league. And it starts with 2 so far poor offensive lines, week 1, week 2, leading into a primetime football game. If you can stack 3 productive games from Nick Bosa in a row, a lot of people are going to be talking about Nick Bosa. So I got Nick Bosa as my most valuable player for the San Francisco 49ers. We'll see. We'll see. There's a reason I don't like doing record predictions, because what are record predictions? Just you can literally just say a number. This is the record prediction. This is what it's going to be. Is it though? Because it's a week by week basis. So we can do record predictions, but ultimately, what do they really mean? What weight do they actually carry? Because in the NFL, it's a game by game, play by play scenario. Anything can change in a single snap. So there's so many variables, there's so much adversity, there's so many things that come along with it. It's really hard for anyone to say with their whole chest, this is what it's going to be. But I do believe this is what's going to be. It's Nick Bosa, MVP for the 49ers. Maybe we're talking, I think we're definitely talking defensive player of the year. Maybe we're talking, again, unprecedented for defensive player to win MVP of the league. But maybe, just maybe. My guy Bubbly says, smash that like button. We should get at least 97 likes on this video for Nick Bosa. 100%. So I'm looking forward to it. I think this is going to be a phenomenal year for Nick Bosa. I think it's going to be a phenomenal year for the defense. I think this is what we're going to see. I think we're going to see the defense absolutely be the star attraction. I think all the eyes and the storylines are focused on the offense because we get it. We get it. Offense sells tickets. Offense puts butts in seats. But defense wins championships. And I really think that's what it's going to come down to. I think the 49ers defense is built. They're deep. They're a little hurt right now. Their depth with the secondary, specifically the safeties, is going to get tested early. But they got a great front 7. And I think it's going to be a really good time. And great idea, Tony. He says, recap your picks for anyone who just jumped in. Good call, Tony. Good call. Shout out Tony, the producer. So this is what I got. Let's recap. For most underrated player, I went Emmanuel Mosley. I think Emmanuel Mosley is going to be the most underrated player on the San Francisco 49ers this year. I think the coach of the year is going to be DeMeco Ryans. Again, for the same exact thing that I'm talking about. This defense is going to be phenomenal, and we're going to be able to see a different level of DeMeco Ryans. Again, what we saw last year from DeMeco was his rookie season as a defensive coordinator. Now we're going to get to see him in year 2, and the experience has been built, and I'm looking forward to what DeMeco is going to do. I think DeMeco Ryans is going to have a phenomenal year that ultimately lands him a head coaching job elsewhere. I think the comeback player of the year is 100% going to be Javon Kinlaw. I think Javon Kinlaw will be healthy all season, and I think he will show how important he is to have on the interior of that defensive line, whether it's with stats or no stats. Again, him occupying a double team is a W in my book, but I do see a guy who will be able to get after the passer, from the interior. He'll be able to collapse the pocket and do all those types of things and be a run stuffer as well. So, comeback player of the year, Javon Kinlaw. I also believe the 49ers rookie of the year is going to be Samuel Womack. The 5th round pick out of Toledo is going to see a lot of snaps this season. And I think with the way the NFL is continuing to trend, especially when you look at Arizona, you look at the Rams, I think they're going to run a lot of 3 wide, and that means a lot of nickel for the 49ers, which means Samuel Womack will be relied on heavily. So there's a lot of good rookies in this class that you can pick from for the 49ers, but I think it ultimately comes down to Samuel Womack out of Toledo. My defensive player of the year, I think Charvarius, aka Money Mooney Ward, is going to be a huge impact player for the 49ers. The way he's going to be able to help completely transition the defense away from primarily zone scheme to more press, man, and man coverage. I think he's going to be able to do a lot of things, and they're going to need him to clamp up a lot of number 1 wide receivers this year. Again, we talked about some of the guys that they're going to face. DeAndre Hopkins, you're going to face Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill. You're going to be facing Cooper Kupp. You're going to be facing DK Metcalf, Darnell Mooney, Cortland Sutton, DJ Moore. Maybe even gets a little Kyle Pitts action out there. You got a bunch of young guns like Chris Olave. You got Keenan Allen. You got Mike Williams, Jahan Dotson. You got Devontae Adams, number 1 wide receiver in the league. You got Hollywood Brown. There, you've got Jerry Jeudy. There are wide receivers all over the place that the 49ers are going to need to clamp, and Charvarius Ward will be at the top of the list, guarding all of those number 1 wide receivers that the 49ers faced this year. I think he has a big time year. Offensive player of the year, we talked about it's going to be Trey Lance. The reason why it's going to be Trey Lance is because we also I believe that Brandon Ayuk is going to have a really big year. I think there's going to be a huge opportunity for Deebo Samuel, George Kittle to all have big years as well. And we're going to see guys like Jawan Jennings, Danny Gray, Ray McLeod. Those guys are going to have good years out well. But the common denominator in all of them having big years is Trey Lance. Not only is it going to be Trey Lance as the common denominator, but Trey Lance has a rushing floor that I think propels him and allows him to have a bigger impact. I think we're talking 400, 500, 600 rushing yards, potentially 4 to 5 touchdowns on the ground. So if that's the case and we see Trey Lance all 17 games, I think Trey Lance will be your offensive player of the year because I think of the so many different ways he will be relied on this year. But we're going to see how that plays out. We are definitely going to see how that plays out. And then, of course, as we discussed, Nick Bosa will ultimately be the most valuable player for the San Francisco 49ers this season. And I think it's going to be kind of a landslide. Uh, Nick Bosa doesn't catch some sun. The sun catches some Nick Bosa. Well said. Couldn't have been said any better for the future MVP of the 2022 San Francisco 49ers. I think Nick Bosa is going to be a monster this year. Again, we've talked about it in length, but I really do think Mr. 20 piece is coming for blood this season, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think he's going to get that 20 piece. I think it's going to happen. We've talked about how it could happen. I think it's going to happen. Um, he is going to be absolutely phenomenal. When Chuck Norris sees Nick Bosa, he just runs the other way. Absolutely. 100%. Justin says, Brad, what are the chances that Mason climbs the depth chart before week 1 now that he's on the roster? Could we see a rise similar to Elijah Mitchell last season? I mean, we could. We could. I'm not betting on it, but you know, you never say never to anything. I think we all agree that Jordan Mason is really good. We've heard from the coaching staff and John Lynch. They think very highly of Jordan Mason. But I also think they think highly of Elijah Mitchell and Jeff Wilson. And I think there is a little bit of kind of a pecking order, if you will. Again, we've seen guys like Elijah Mitchell jump that pecking order. But I think Jeff Wilson is healthy. And Jeff Wilson has okay, so let's see. We got some news just dropped. 49ers worked out Buddy Johnson, Leroy Watson, and Gene DeLance. 3 players I have never heard of. So who is Buddy Johnson? Buddy Johnson is a linebacker. He played at Texas A&M and was drafted by the Steelers in the 4th round in 2021. But he was cut. So, former 4th round pick, linebacker. Last year he only had 2 solo tackles. Okay, so that's Buddy Johnson. They also tried out Leroy Washington. Let's see who that guy is. Nothing even shows up on Google when I type in Leroy. Oh wait, it's not Washington, it's Watson. That's probably why. Leroy Watson. Oh, UTSA. Leroy Watson was a tight end. Played 30 season with the Falcons. Doesn't look like he did a whole lot either. So looks like a tight end. Leroy Watson at a UTSA. Okay. Doesn't really have much of anything from a stats perspective. And then they also worked out Gene DeLance. Gene DeLance, offensive lineman. Florida Gators. Did he get drafted? Oh, Bears. So Gene DeLance is a former Bear. Played in 41 games in 4 seasons, including 12 starts at right tackle last year. Interesting. So it seems like Gene DeLance has the most starts out of these 3 guys that we've never heard of. But he was cut just recently by the Bears. That could be just clearly wasn't drafted by that regime. He's a former starting right tackle at Florida. But yeah, he did not make the roster. He's a former undrafted free agent. Again, played right tackle, got 12 starts last year. I don't know. Maybe those could be practice squad guys. Kind of like what Robert says, who, and who. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I've heard of any of these guys. A Leroy and a Buddy, and yeah, and so we'll see. But hey, big time needle movers, Jesse. He's no longer concerned about the O-line. You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be at all. So yeah, I don't know. No, definitely no one that moved the needle at all in the slightest. I don't even think I'm gonna post about it. Like, wake me up if they sign someone. I'm not gonna report on these random workouts. So wake me up when they sign someone. But clearly still looking at some offensive line help. So hey, they see a guy with 12 starts at tackle last year. Clearly they played the Bears last year, so they have some tape on him, most likely. So I don't know. We will see. But I appreciate you guys for tapping in today. That is going to be our award predictions for this year. We'll come back. We'll review at the end of the year, see if I was even close to any of these, and see how much it's changed, or if we were right. We will find out. But again, shout out to everyone for tapping in. Appreciate you guys. Smash that like button on your way out. One more weekend closer to football. We are that much closer. It's going to be the last Sunday until January that we don't. There's a bye week in there, but it's going to be the last Sunday that we do not have 49ers football. Oh boy. And it's going to start on Monday promptly. I'm telling you guys, the week 1 content is about to pick up, and we're going to get right into midseason form. And we are in the season starting Monday, at least for me. I'm going to take this weekend. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to get some rest, spend some time with the babies, and get ready for week 1 against the Bears. Fields versus Lance, Bosa versus the world. Looking forward to it. But shout out all you guys for tapping in. Get your rest as well. Get all the college football in. Do all the chores you need to do. Get everything ready for week 1 because it's going to be a fun year. Looking forward to it. And we're going to spend many, many weekends together from here on out. So can't wait. Appreciate you all. I'm out of here for now. You guys have a great weekend. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see you.